Hi, all you music lovers out there. My name's Andy Rodriguez. I'm also known as the BLackspinner. And if you're new to our channel, what we do here is we go through my albums in alphabetical and in chronological order. Recently, we have done the past two episodes have been through the letter S, parts 1 and part 2. Well, today we have a special episode. Today's episode is going to be dedicated just to Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. And before we get into Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, just to let you know a little bit what we do here, I will go through my albums in alphabetical and in chronological order. And I will pick out key tracks on each album that I like and that you might find interesting. And maybe there might be a few songs that you've never heard of that you might want to stream on whatever streaming device. But hey, maybe you might want to go buy the album on CD or some type of hard copy once I get finished talking about it. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like it and leave a comment. And without further ado, let's get going. Let's get to talking. Debut album is going to be by Bruce Springsteen. They are out of New Jersey. They came out in their debut album came out in 1973. Now this does not have the E Street Band on it. It does have a couple of other. It's got maybe about two people or two band members that were that will become the E Street Band. But right now it's just Bruce Springsteen, and this is Greetings from Asbury Park. This album is mainly acoustic based. It does have a full band, so it's not quiet, but it is an acoustic based album. The songs on here, he was the original artist to release Blinded by the Light later on in the decade, maybe in the later 70s. It was a big hit for Manfred Mann, and Manfred Mann really turned that song on its heels, because here it's done with acoustic instruments. Let me be clear about that. It's acoustic instruments. It's not just a slow, quiet acoustic. It's acoustic instruments. And the other songs on here, Growing Up is really a good song too. And Lost in the Flood and Spirit in the Night. We will hear Spirit in the Night be done over and over, especially in a live setting. In a live setting, he really turns that song up. He really does, and turns it into almost one of the centerpieces of his live concerts. And if you're not too familiar with Bruce Springsteen E Street Band, his concerts are epic. They last about maybe 2 to 3.5 hours. I've only seen him one time when he came to Houston. My wife and I saw him, and we were very impressed. And he played almost a 3-hour set, and he was fantastic. That might be one of the best shows I've ever been to. The way that he holds the crowd, it's just fantastic. And second, we have E Street Band. This is Bruce Springsteen, The Wild, The Innocent, in the E Street Shuffle. Yeah, this will be his second release. And this will have a few more guys from the band, like Clarence Clemens is on here. And so is Danny Federici and Gary Talent. Those guys, those three, will also be an intricate part of the E Street Band. This album was released also in 73, later in 73. Paper insert, there's the Columbia imprint on it. And the songs on here this is my first favorite album I have by him. I have so many I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, so a lot of these albums that I'm about to talk about, I will say this is my favorite because I really enjoy his music. The E Street Shuffle, 4th of July, Asbury Park. That's a beautiful song. And Incident on 57th Street. And my favorite song on this album, Rosalita, Come Out Tonight. Like that song. I like the storytelling that Bruce Springsteen has. These different characters, and sometimes these different characters, he moves from album to album, and he just talks, he just sings and writes so much about these characters of loss and trying to get out of bad situations and redemption and back to the bottom again. Though the way that he writes, he puts these characters in play and these characters in motion. Next will be his third album, Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run. This will be the third album. This is the album that will make him a superstar. Let's open it up all the way. Clarence Clemens is right there with him. And this will make him a superstar. You know, it's very famous that he was both on the cover of Time and Newsweek on the same week. That's how big he was when this went out. This will be, without a doubt, on my top 20, on my personal top 20 when I do them. The songs on here, I'm going to name them all because they should all be mentioned. Let's go with Thunder Road. Starts off with Thunder Road, one of my favorite Bruce Springsteen songs, and it is my favorite song on here. It is my favorite song on here. And then we've got 10th Avenue Freeze Out, which is one of my favorites as well. I remember first moving away from home and hearing that song, you know, telling myself, you know, I can't go back home. This is it, you know, and this is it. This is where I am, and this is how I need to keep moving forward. And you know, this whole album really helped me out during that time that I was first on my own, living on my own, away from home. Not just away from home, but in a different city. And this was great for me. Backstreet, and of course, Born to Run. That's an epic song. She's the One. It took me a while to warm up to She's the One, but I did. And Meeting Across the River is also a good song. But this ends with another epic song, Jungle Land. This album is bookended by Backstreet's. By Thunder Road and Jungle Land. Those are two epic songs on there. And for a while there, after that album and with all the stardom, he loses his momentum because he's in lawsuits with his previous manager, and there's a holdup, and so he's not releasing. He doesn't release another album for about a month, maybe about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And back then, that was a long time. Especially in the mid-70s when everybody was cranking albums out like crazy. He had to stop and he had to wait. And they did extensive touring during that time. And when they finally came back together to record an album, Darkness on the Edge of Town. This is a great, great album. This is one of my favorites by him. This is not going to make my top 20 because I told myself already I'm going to make a top 20 and only one of them from each artist. So I had to pick one of them. But let's go through these songs here. There's I think this has it's got a little cover to it there with Bruce right there. And there's the back of it. You know, he looks so disheveled, tired, weary, gone through a lot. The songs of hope that he sung on the previous album, this is despair. This album is full of despair and also disappointment. Let's go through this. Badlands, great song. Adam Raised a King, Something in the Night, Candy's Room, and it ends with a beautiful Racing in the Street. Just beautiful. Sight to the Promised Land, Prove It All Night, and Darkness on the Edge of Town. Let's see how 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mentioned about 8 songs on this album, 8 out of 10, which makes it such a bona fide hit. I love this album. This is one album that not that many, well, a lot of people do talk about it, but this is one of them that should be mentioned with his most famous works as well. After that, he will come out with a double album. Yes, a double album. The River. This is a double album. And the inside, I've got the inside folders. Great pictures of the band. Now, this is going to be the E Street Band in its full force, going at it. Let's go through the songs on this album. Let's start off with side one, the ties that bind, Sherry Darling, Two Hearts, and Independence Day. But my favorite song on here, on this album, is going to be The River, the title track. I love that song. It tells a story about this young guy, trying to make it, and then he finds out his girlfriend's pregnant, and he has to start going to work. He gets a union card, and he tries to do what's right, but him and his girl are falling out of love, and it just it tells a great story. And I Want to Marry You, You Can Look But You Cannot Touch, Hungry Heart. Hungry Heart was a big hit for him. Really big hit. And on side 3, Point Blank, Cadillac Ranch, I'm a Rocker, and Fade Away. Really good. And side 4, Ramrod and Wreck on the Highway. Yeah. And, the E Street Band put so much emphasis in these songs. And it's so good the way that he puts everything that he can in there. And this is a little booklet that has all the lyrics to it, which is really neat. Sometimes, not sometimes, most of the time, almost always, I buy these used, of course. And it's so good to see so many wonderful little gifts inside. And after that, he will scale back the sound that he has really been famous for, that he conquered the world with. And he scales it back with Nebraska, with a very stark, very violent album with just an acoustic guitar and harmonica. The words on here are biting, and they tell stories of crime. They tell stories of haunting stories on the road. Let's see here, Nebraska, Atlantic City, Mansion on the Hill is good. Johnny 99, State Trooper, My Father's House, and Reason to Believe. And I mentioned all these songs, but this is not one of my favorite Bruce Springsteen songs because of the sound of it. Because it sounds so much different from his other stuff. Except for, I got The Ghost of Tom Joad on CD, and it's going to follow the same kind of sound and the same kind of pattern as Nebraska did. But if you like that kind of stuff, a lot of people think that this is Bruce Springsteen's best album. And I can see why. It's just that I just enjoy other music by him. That's all. This is not a bad album at all. I just prefer others. That's all. But Nebraska by Bruce Springsteen, check it out. And then in 1984, of course, he will come back and conquer the world again. And I will tell you how much he conquered the world. But let's get to Bruce Springsteen, Born in the USA. This album just changed everything. The songs on here, Born in the USA is the title track. Great song. Cover Me, Working on the Highway, I'm on Fire, Bound Down Train, No Surrender, another great, just booming track. And Bobby Jean, God, Bobby Jean's just beautiful. It talks about him going to his girl's house and or his friend's house, and that's how the song starts. And her mom says that she left, she's gone, and there was nothing that he could have done or said. And the first verse ends with just saying, I wish I could have called you just to say goodbye. Oh, that's so heartbreaking. But still, I'm not done here. I'm Going Down is a good song. Glory Days, Dancing in the Dark in My Hometown. This is for all the accolades that we're getting for the sound. This is a very dark album as well. The writing is very dark. Just the title track alone, Born in the USA, is a very dark song that talks about the ignoring the problems with the Vietnam vets when they were coming back from war. How America just a lot of us kind of ignored the problems that people were having when they were coming back from war, and still that happens with the wars that are going on now. I mean, what do we expect these soldiers, these men and women that come back from combat, to just go back into civilian life? That's almost impossible. So that's what Born in the USA sings about, that song. And My Hometown, it's just, his hometown's going down the tubes. There's a lot of racial fighting in the in the second verse. In the first verse, everything's closing down. His dad says, these textiles are closing, these factories are closing while they're driving, and the boy is wondering, well, what's there going to be left for me when I grow up? It's a very sad album. I'm on Fire is a sad song, and so is Dancing in the Dark. Just downgrading himself, and Bobby Jean is a song about loss and regret. But the sound is there of happiness, but the lyrics are so biting. And if you've been following BLackspinner, you know that I'm a sucker for the double live album. Well, when it comes to Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band, it's not a double live album. It's not a triple live album. It's not a quadruple live album. It's a 5 LP set, talking about Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band from live era from 1975 to 1985. Not live era, live 75 to 85. And let's go through it. Check this out. Of course I bought this used, still with the booklet intact, with all the lyrics, and look at the photographs in there. Just great, Just wonderful. And, it's so hard to find these intact, but I do have all 5, and each one has pictures of live in concert. So when we're talking about a 5 LP, we're talking about 10 sides. Yes, 10 sides. This is about 3.5 hours long. So, sometimes, a couple of times I have heard this traveling out of town. I throw it on my iPod or iPhone and just stream it. Because I got a little record player that I try to put in my car and just skips. But yeah, the only thing when I first heard it, y'all know I was talking about how much I love Thunder Road. This is done with just piano. I wanted the whole thing, the whole sound of Thunder Road. And for a while there, I was disappointed by it, but then I was like, you know what? I like this version too. But yeah, side 1, Thunder Road, Adam Raised the King, Spirit of the Night, 4th of July, Asbury Park. Side 2, Fire, Growing Up, It's Hard to Be a Saint in the City. Am I going to go through all these? Yeah, why not? Side 3, Backstreets, Rosalita. Side 4, Hungry Hearts, Cadillac Ranch, Independence Day. And what I like about this is that it kind of stays in the era, and it kind of goes, it kind of very close of going in chronological order, and I like that a lot. Side 5, Badlands, Because of the Night, Candy's Room, Darkness on the Edge of Town, and Racing in the Street. And if you pay attention, all those songs are from Darkness on the Edge of Town. Side 6, Nebraska, Johnny 99, and Reason to Believe are all from Nebraska. And it starts off with This Land Is Your Land. And then side 7, it's got Born in the USA and The River. Side 8 has War, Darlington County, and Working on the Highway. And then, the last disc, Cover Me, I'm on Fire, Bobby Jean, My Hometown. Side 10, it's amazing the way it blows up on side 10, can you believe it? It blows up with Born to Run, No Surrender, and 10th Avenue Freeze Out, and then Jersey Girl. I mean, if y'all have the time to listen to this, to stream it, And if you're a big Bruce Springsteen fan, and if you have 3.5 hours to kill, well, not to kill, but to use up, this is great. And it's got, it also has all the dates and all the dates the songs were done, the venue, the city, the year. It's just this is a really great package to have. It is. And the last, and I got 2 more albums by Bruce Springsteen right here. Ton of Love. This right here, he was going through a divorce, so a lot of songs are about divorce and about love being lost. The songs on here, Ain't Got You, the title track, which is Ton of Love, but the great songs on here, some of my favorite Bruce Springsteen songs, I love Brilliant Disguise and One Step Up. One Step Up and Brilliant Disguise, those 2 songs are two of my favorites on this album. I don't know which one's my favorite, but I enjoy both of them very much on this album, Ton of Love. And the last album I had by Bruce Springsteen on vinyl, I've got some others on CD. If I do my CD collection, we'll go through them, we'll talk about them. The Rising just came out a little bit after September 11th, so I do play this on September 11th because it gives me that comfort and that feel about for what happened of 9/11. Of course, I'm never going to forget, but to have these songs, to hear these songs, this collection of songs, Lonesome Day, Into the Fire, Nothing Man, Waiting on a Sunny Day, Counting on a Miracle, Empty Sky. Empty Sky is a fantastic song. Further on up the road, Mary's Place, You're Missing, The Rising, and My City of Ruins. This is great. This is such a good album to listen to find that comfort to something that was such a horrible time in our country. Well, that concludes my episode for Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I really enjoy listening to Bruce Springsteen. A lot of times for Bruce Springsteen, he sings a lot about America. He sings a lot about the citizens of America and what's going on. It seems like each album has a certain era of what's going on in the world around us here in America. So I really hope that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed going through this with you and sharing it with y'all. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And thanks a lot for spending this time with me. Take care of yourselves and keep on rocking. And I'll see y'all next time.